All right, here we go. It is the nightcap live version, Friday night, late night live version of the nightcap right here on BearcatJournal.com, www.galacticfriedchicken.com. Download the app, Android, iPhone, everything Galactic. Get down to Dayton, Kentucky. Tell them to pump it up. Save yourself 15% off of your order, or go to the app and they will deliver right to your front door, pretty much anywhere inside the 275 loop. Get yourself some of that Galactic goodness. Wednesday through Sunday, lunch and dinner. All right, Aaron, we have a lot, as is almost always the case here. We have a lot to get to. Football game tomorrow night at the Holy Grail watch party. Make sure you're there. I will be there. I'll have my offspring there with me, and maybe a couple of Kelly's nurses and their husbands are going to stop by, so you can come by and thank them for all the awesome stuff that they did helping take care of Kelly through a very difficult time. So I wanted to invite them down. They're big Bearcat fans, and watch the game with them. So hopefully they'll be at the table and everybody can come by and give them a high five or something. We've got Aziz Bandaogo stuff to talk about. We've got Ravon Griffith stuff to talk about. But more importantly, Aaron, most importantly, we got a basketball game to talk about. A game where Cincinnati was absolutely dominant in the first half. Yeah. Just steamrolled Detroit Mercy in half number one. It's very sloppy in the second half. They look like a young team that was trying to cruise. And guess what? You are not that good yet. That you can show up against another D1 team and just take a half off. Fortunately, they were up by 30 plus in the first half, and were able to play even in the second half, which is Wes was not thrilled with that tonight, but I don't think he's in a very good mood.
Sure.
So we'll get to the game first. While I get this tweet up, Aaron, what were your takeaways?
Newman looked really good again. CJ Frederick looked really good again. Jizzle looked like he had played a Division I game before. He looked improved, I thought, on his first game. Let me think. CMOS made some shots.
Look, I'm telling you, the dude can flat out shoot. Like, don't let what happened in that first game where he missed some open ones kind of discourage you from who he is as a player. That combination of CJ Frederick and CMOS Lukosius on your wing, knocking down shots, is going to be a major factor in how this team looks this season.
Vic struggled a little bit tonight.
I thought he was okay. I thought he was better than game one, clearly. But
sure. Josh Reed had a decent game. Better than game
Wes
one.
Wasn't happy with the turnovers, but overall, I didn't think his shot selection was great. But 12 rebounds, 4 assists, like those are areas that Josh Reed can help you. And tonight he did.
His role is going to be, I think, a little bit different than everyone else's. I think he's going to be kind of looked at as a utility player almost.
Yeah. I think it's fair. But look, if you're taking bad shots and you're not making shots, you're going to slide down the rotation.
Yeah.
That's college basketball. Like, that's just how it works. And I love Josh. I think Josh has got a chance to be a really good player here, but I don't think it's just going to be enough to do the ancillary things and not some of the important ones on top of that.
He looked a little awkward dribbling the ball tonight.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that there's a great benefit from with Josh is his ability to get a rebound and go. And he did not look very comfortable doing that. Like, that's supposed to be one of the advantages of having him on the floor, especially when you're playing him as a four-man. It's very uncomfortable for a defense trying to match up when the power forward gets the rebound and has the ball pushing up the floor, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't look super comfortable doing that tonight.
But he did lead all rebounders with 12.
It's not that he played bad.
He was tied with Dan for most defensive rebounds with 7 each. Led all offensive rebounders with 5. CJ Frederick still splashing. Good on him for it. He was 4 or 5 from 3, 80% clip. Not bad. The team as a whole, 16-34 from 3.
No,
absurd.
The first half is one of the more absurd things I've ever seen.
It was fun. It was fun to watch, for sure.
13 of 21 from 3.
It was fun.
Your worst three-point shooter in the first half was Josh Reed, 1 of 3, and Seamas, 2 of 5. Day Thomas, 1 for 1. CJ Frederick, 3 for 3. John Newman, 3 for 4. Dan Skillings, 2 for 4. Jizzle James, 1 for 1. Josh Reed, 1 for 3. Seamas, 2 for 5. That was your first half. Yowza. I ain't even mad they only shot 3 free throws in the first half, Aaron.
Yeah, no. You got even got some time for the guys coming off the end of the bench towards the end of the game, as CJ Anthony logs 4 minutes. Landon Long got in. Chase Kirkwood got in. Sage got in. So it was a fun game. 60 points in your first half, which that's absurd. I don't know when the last time was they had a 60-point half.
It's a lot of points and a half in 20 minutes.
In 20 minutes.
20 minutes to put up 60, 3 points a minute. Or you hit 13 threes, you can put up 3 points a minute.
That'll help. Yeah. I mean, that accounted
for. It absolutely will help.
That's 39 of your 60 right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't get you. I mean, this has a chance to be, and tonight was kind of the first real, actual significant sign of that. This has a chance to be a really good 3-point shooting team, as long as. Here's the thing, Aaron. The threes weren't the most important part of that half. Do you know what I think was?
The movement of the ball to get those threes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
17 assists in the first half on 23 made baskets, 13 of them being threes. You had Seamas with 4 assists in the first half, Josh Reed with 4 assists in the first half, Vic with 3 assists in the first half, John Newman with 2 assists in the first half. That means everybody was pinging the ball. The ball was not sticking. And when we talk about why this team could be better offensively than last year's team, is because as much as David DeJulius and Landers Nolly were significant players for UC, they were guys that the ball often stopped when it got to them. The ball does not stop a lot with this group. Not that we've seen to this point. But when the competition ramps up, sure, there are going to be games in the Big 12 against elite defensive teams where they do a good job of guarding you and stopping your, ping, 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 ping. They're going to get in passing lanes and challenge, and you're going to have to work your way around that. But this team's path to success on offense is everybody touching it and everybody being a threat. And today was what it looked like when everybody touches it and everybody's a threat. I was really encouraged with, especially in the first half, and less so in the second half, but
well, and I was going to say,
see it.
That's where you see Wes getting angry when you see goes from 17 assists in the first half to
6.
23 in the entire game. So
Well, and here's the biggest problem with that, Aaron. What did we just talk about with how many guys had, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys with multiple assists in the first half. The second half, nobody had more than one.
Well, and he said that he felt that in the postgame presser, he said that he felt that they kind of just not. I don't think he used the word lazy, but they just kind of backed off. The aggressiveness was not there. That's how you go from 60 points to 30 points in a half, right? I mean, that's half your production.
Open gym. It felt like open gym in the second half, didn't it? Kind of.
I mean, that's where you end up with 10 turnovers. That's where you end up with just some different things where you're not scoring as many points. And of course, again, we know that they brought
every three wasn't falling.
They also brought in guys off the end of the bench, so you're playing several minutes with those guys in for your top rotations.
Well, I mean, you look in the second half, none of the starters played more than 10 minutes. CJ Frederick only played 7 minutes in the second half. Smas only played 7 minutes in the second half. Dan played 14 in the second half, but he was very loose with the ball today. But yeah, 9 for Odie, 8 for Vic, 7 for Newman, 7 for Frederick, 9 for Day. Your leading minutes in the second half were Skillings and Reed. CJ Anthony played 8 minutes. Sage played 5 minutes. So you have to expect a little bit that the second half stuff is going to dip, but not a it's the difference. It's clearly the difference in what it looks like when everybody's connected and everybody's making that extra pass and Wes got a little angry at me, not angry, but like I mentioned that the second half was a little more selfish. I don't think that was probably the right word in my wording in my question, but it wasn't like everybody in that first half was looking for the next pass.
It was unselfish
boom, boom, boom,
basketball.
Wide open. Yeah, it was.
But the opposite of unselfish basketball isn't necessarily selfish basketball.
They're in selfish basketball. I didn't think that was it. I didn't think there was a lot of isolation.
Right.
And guys just like getting it and trying to get their dribble on and make something happen. I just don't think it was as crisp. And there wasn't the extra pass. Like there was maybe that first or second pass and then a shot instead of the third pass or the fourth pass like they got in the first half where the guy was wide open.
Well, and even some of those passes they were trying to make, but they were I think that Detroit they were starting to get into some of those lanes. So maybe you were trying to force an extra pass, but
correct.
It wasn't necessarily the pass you needed to make. That all said, obviously great win tonight all around. Not as many dunks tonight, although you got to see Day on a break. I thought he even slowed up. I thought maybe he was going to do something, and then he just made sure to get the points. You had Odie on one where he pulled up, I think, and John Newman again.
Yeah.
He thundered one.
I mean,
he's all the way back,
like
right?
He's got some explosion. Yeah, he's got some explosion.
This was the John Newman that we were promised several years ago, and now we're starting to see him shine, and it's fun to see him at what I would say is close to as close to 100% as we've seen him on the court.
I said this to Keegan, like that's the John Newman that we were told was coming last season before he got hurt in the scrimmage right before the season started. Yeah. And and I talked about this with John at Media Day. Like you're working to get back there. Like the goal is always to get back there. And guess what? He knocks down that first shot of the game, hits that open three, and then all of a sudden feeling pretty good, feeling all right. And then you hit the second one. Because sometimes, Aaron, you hit the first one, you think, well, I'm going to make all of them. And you go 1 for 6. But
we've seen those games, not from him, but I mean, we've certainly seen some of those games at Cincinnati.
Right. Aaron. Sorry, I'm something in my throat. But then he hits the second one, and now all of a sudden it's like throwing a beach ball into the ocean. You just feel good about it, and he felt good about it, and he was able to play really, really well throughout the game. And defensively, he looked like the thing for me. We're different. You Bird fans, you want to see the vertical athleticism of John Newman. I want to see the lateral athleticism when he's defending. Like, how is he sliding? How is he getting in front of guys? And look, Aaron, everybody complained about not having a layup line to the rim. Well, you know how you stop a layup line to the rim a lot of times? Is you play better lateral defense on the perimeter so your guy can't beat you and go lay it up.
And the defense certainly looked better tonight, without a doubt. You could tell that there was some conversation and probably some extra practice minutes dedicated to defense since Monday.
They gave up, I believe, half of the layups that they gave up the other day. Keegan, you want in? Are you still here? You want to chat with us, Keegan, while we're live?
Stone was good for Detroit, but outside of that, I mean,
yeah, good player.
Mike Davis was something. Anytime they'd pan to him, he just looked almost bored. And the telecast made mention that it's a young team, it's a team without a leader, and that it's a transition year, if you will, for this Detroit team. Hakeem Olajuwon's kid plays for Detroit Mercy.
I got a question about that.
Okay.
Send Keegan an invite.
I'm working on it.
Jump on with us. How mad are you if you're Hakeem Olajuwon's kid and you're like 6'4"?
I mean, you
Aren't
missed
you
out
mad
on
as hell. Like,
you missed out
so
on
mad.
It's something. It's not what I anticipated when they said Hakeem Olajuwon's kid.
Yeah, you thought there was going to be a 6'10" kid doing the dream shake, not a 6'4" guard.
Not that.
Thanks, Ed. Appreciate the insight.
I don't know. I mean, it was like I said, it was a fun game. How was the energy? I know they had the upper bowl closed, and they did the same thing they did with the NIT game last year, where you got to you don't have the regular season ticket holders down in the lower bowl. You got to make your best effort to get as close to the court as you wanted to, as somebody buying tickets. So people who normally aren't courtside got to be courtside. People who are normally not in those lower, closer to the court seats, especially somewhere around the half court line, they got to do some of those things. So how was that energy? Pretty good?
It's good. It was good. I mean, it wasn't, the NIT was going to be a different deal just because it's postseason and it was a Power 5 opponent and whatever. But I thought the energy was pretty good, especially, I mean, again, you had 13 threes in the first half. The people are going to be pretty excited. Everybody seemed to be enjoying themselves. And then the second half, it was a Friday night. And everybody's looking to get the hell out of there, kind of. Let's get this 60-33 game or whatever over and get on with our weekend. Hi, Keegs.
Hello. How are you?
Can I call you Keegs? It feels like a good nickname for you.
Sure.
Does anybody call you Keegs?
Everyone calls me Keegs. Actually, just my high school baseball coach, now that I think about it.
Do you like that better than Kinnickerson?
I like it better than what you would call me today.
Yeah. Term of endearment. Ed tried to go say hi, but I had a date with nachos. I had a very pleasant experience with nachos tonight. They're very tasty. The jalapenos.
He was gone for like 10 minutes in the middle of the game, and then he just comes back and slams the nachos.
To be fair, I was going to the bathroom and then to get some nachos, and on my way there, I ran into Don, who is the owner of the Holy Grail, and his wife, And when you run into a partner, then you can't just like blow them off. You got to hang out and chat.
Very true.
So like 7 of those minutes were talking to our business partners. And then 3 of those minutes, well, maybe 4, because I went and got the nachos, and the place I got the nachos ran out of the nacho cheese. So then I had to go to a different concession stand and say, I got this much nacho cheese in a container like this.
You had one job. You can't sell nachos if you don't have cheese. Like,
right. She was very apologetic. She was very sorry. She's like, I'm sorry, we're out of cheese.
She should have been.
And I was like, well, then I don't want your nachos. But
You're like,
I walked over to the other concession stand and they had nachos or cheese. So I got more cheese from them. And they were awesome. I was like, can I get some more cheese? And she was like, oh, that's not enough cheese. You can't get a whole thing of nachos with that much cheese. I'm like, you're absolutely right. I would be doing like a nibble of cheese on each nacho, and you would have heard me bitch for the remaining 30 minutes of the game that I didn't have enough cheese.
but you got all your cheese and your jalapenos, and you were as happy as can be.
Actually, Ed, it was nachos and a water. I had
That is
Mountain
not
Dew in
real
the first
before the
half,
game.
water in the second half. Josh says, Keegan, get out of here and go have fun. I don't pay you enough for all this work. That's probably true. It's probably true.
I have a job. I realized I'm probably just going to do a gamer, and then I'll get up like a 600-worder about everything else that happened after the game, after the press conference.
After the press conference?
There were 2. The second press conference.
Okay. The 9-minute press conference.
One question.
Dude, I almost died.
He did. He did. Literally.
I legit almost died. So West had been going on for like 8 minutes, and I really needed to clear my throat. And he was on one. So I didn't want to clear my throat, like in the middle of him, like making this impassionate plea about the health and well-being of his players. And I tried to hold back a cough. You can hold back a sneeze. You can't hold back a cough. And then I almost died. I turned bright red.
I could see the back of your neck turning like purple because you were.
I'm impressed you could see the back of his neck.
Okay.
Because you have a collared. Because you have a collared shirt on.
Mm-hmm. Are you saying I don't have a neck, Aaron?
Didn't say that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh!
But yeah, I almost died. It's fine. I lived.
Can you hear me typing? You can hear me typing, can't you?
No.
No, not really.
Can't you hear that?
Now I can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Start to rattle.
Well, if you're going to be here, you can't be on mute. No, you're on mute. I can't hear you. When you talk, I can't hear you.
I'm in the act of posting a story on the website.
Okay. Okay. Well, you mute yourself. Well, let us know. Communicate, Keegan. Communicate. Aaron and
That's
I
what I'm here for. That's why I'm
Rookie. Go post your story. You can come back when you're done. Wave to us when you're done, and then you can come back, Keegan. Goodness.
But game wise, yeah, CMOS was a beast. Newman played great.
They beat the spread. They beat the over under.
They almost. What was the over under?
147.5.
You felt real good about when they scored 60 in the first.
Felt real good about it when I put money on it before the game started.
Yeah. Look, here's the thing. This is a team that still has a long way to go, especially with the uncertainty, and we'll get to Aziz in a minute, and we'll get to Ray in a minute, the thing that everybody's was asking about tonight. But tonight was progress from night one. Now, is that the UIC team probably better than the Detroit Mercy team we saw today? Yeah, I would say that. I would say I walked away from that UIC game thinking that's a pretty good Missouri Valley team. I walked away from Detroit Mercy tonight going, that looks like our Horizon League team.
Yeah. It was I felt like, again, when the telecast mentioned that they don't have a leader, they are a young team in transition, trying to figure out what this roster is. That was where I guess I thought it was odd that Davis didn't look like he was coaching much.
Stone was clearly their leader. He didn't leave the floor.
Yeah, agreed.
Like 40 minutes.
I made that assessment from my couch.
Right. They had one guy take 20 shots, another guy take 16 shots. That's 46. The rest of the team took 10.
Yeah, I mean, and when you're only scoring 61,
right?
They also had two players foul out, two starters for that matter foul out. That doesn't bode well for you. We got to see some of the new charging or lack thereof, how they're going to call charging or not call charging.
Now you're on to what I was talking about Monday, right? Like if you slide over and try to take a charge, it's going to be called a block almost every time, 9 times out of 10.
Cincinnati was the benefit of 2 charging calls, but they
weren't what I'm talking about, though.
Sage got called on the slide. He got called on the slide, and Detroit got called on the slide a couple times.
Yeah,
but
you can no longer be the off-ball defender, grab your nuts, and try to fall down.
Skilling standing there with both feet planted and both arms at his sides had Terry Nelson in shambles. Essentially saying, what are you doing? You've got to cover up the family jewels. If you want to be a father at some point, you're going to have to start to make that decision and not leave yourself wide open that way.
I love it.
Terry's pretty good for a couple lines a game.
Yeah. you gotta cover the junk if you're gonna slide over and try to.
It was on a fast break.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the only person between the guy with the ball and the rim.
Hey, here's something I think, Aaron. I think Terry's better for TV.
I think Terry's fantastic for TV. I really have enjoyed watching. I know some people are all the way out on Terry on TV.
Look,
but I think it's better than last year.
I think Terry is radio is not his, that's not his format. He's kind of a storyteller. He's a little long-winded.
He's that as well.
I think on TV, he's great because you have a little bit more levity. You have a little bit more space.
Yeah.
Where the play-by-play guy doesn't have, in radio, if you're talking over Dan, you're not doing the job right. Just let Dan cook. And then add in, especially in basketball. In football, at least, the play ends. You have time for the ball to get set and then the offense to call the play. And, there's space for a color guy to talk in football. In basketball, the job is to let Dan cook and just, chime in with little pieces. Well, that's not Terry's style. Terry's style is much more TV.
Agreed. But
I haven't seen it yet, but from everybody I've heard, they've said Terry is much more comfortable in a TV setting, I guess.
Again, I think it's an upgrade on last season, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
And you've watched both games front to back, so yeah.
Yeah. I think he improved, actually, from last game. I think he realized he needs to get his stories in quicker. Rather than continue talking as there's action happening on the court. So he's finding his space better, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
I mean, like, look, we love play-by-play guys in radio. We love color guys on TV.
Getting Corey Blunt at halftime was a nice touch as well, as they had been teammates and got to kind of share that. And it was a fun interview as well. So definitely better than some other things they do at halftime.
Yeah, except the firecrackers.
Look,
I love the firecrackers.
they don't put that on TV. I'm talking about the
I
production
know.
that they normally have during halftime. And I appreciated the Corey Blunt, Terry Nelson interview a little bit better than
And look,
some of the other things.
Jared, I will say this: like Kevin was just kind of thrown into being a TV commentator, like without any previous training. Terry has been doing radio, been doing the radio side for a while, like since Chuck stopped.
Yeah,
Terry has been doing radio, so Terry's going to be farther along in that process. It's not. I know everybody looks at what we do and they think it's easy, Aaron. Is it easy to have a camera on your face every night?
I've been doing this for a couple of years now.
Is it easy?
Depends on what we're talking about. Like tonight, there's plenty to talk about. In the middle of the summer, when it's July and you're figuring out what position group we're going to preview because we have run out of everything else to talk about, It's a little different.
But like even just energy and like, did I have a good day or did it how am I feeling and being able to like turn it on? It's not as easy as people think it is.
Yeah,
people look at it and go, "Oh, I could do that. It's easy."
We're humans as well, so when we have a shit day, it's kind of hard to bring the energy at times. But yeah,
I do all right. But I've also been doing this for 30 years now.
you've had some more shit days than most.
Right. I've learned how to power through them. Yeah, Andrew can back us up here. He said when he was at UC, he had to call women's basketball games for Bearcast as part of a class, and my God, it was hard. Yeah, no prep, whatever. It's not easy, but I'm glad Terry is finding that comfort zone on TV because I think he's excellent for that medium. I really do.
You ready to come back, Keegan?
2 minutes.
I don't know what that. Okay.
I think it's either peace.
I don't know why he can't talk. He's maybe the worst communicator for a guy who literally is communicating with the entire internet.
He's giving you what I've learned is that's the Chinese middle finger.
Well, it's the same connotation, despite which finger you use. Clown show.
Day, 4 of 8 from the floor, 2 of 3 from 3, 1 assist, which and on a game with 23, I can't find a whole lot of fault with, because everybody else was kind of. Yeah. There was a lot of extra passing, like a lot of I wonder how many hockey assists he had. But the important part, no turnovers in 20 minutes, 11 points. So what? 26 in his first 2 games as a Bearcat, average of 13. Efficient, effective,
fun.
I'm excited about the Day Thomas era.
When he put a guy on skates and hit the 3 to end the first half.
No, that was Jizzle. Wasn't that Jizzle?
No.
Okay, Jizzle hit a catch and shoot one at the end of the first half. Right?
I don't remember.
They both hit a 3 in the first half. I'm just getting mixed up which one was which.
I'm looking up the play-by-play.
It doesn't matter. Whatever. I feel pretty good about point guard, Aaron. And are there going to be lumps? Are there going to be games that we're sitting here talking about point guard struggled today? Yes. Yes. So don't get that misconstrued. There are going to be games where those two aren't everything that you could ask for. But through the first 2 games, what did we talk about the entire offseason? They have 2 point guards that have never dribbled a ball in a Division I basketball game. And they have now dribbled the ball in 2 Division I basketball games, and they have been pretty good in both of them.
My favorite thing about Jizzle is how strong he looks when he decides he's going to the hoop.
It's almost like his dad is a world-class athlete.
He's bouncy and he goes strong. Like he's not going to be stopped. It's not Jaron Cumberland freight train, I'm coming through you, but he just slips through, finds a hole almost like a running back, and
exactly
gets to the hoop.
When's the last time we had this many shooters? I mean, last year. Like they set records last year for a lot of categories, shooting categories. Guess what West prioritizes? The thing that you should prioritize in basketball in 2023, have guys that can shoot the damn ball. Right?
Yeah. Being long as a team doesn't hurt any of that either. You're able to shoot over guys. You're able to do some things defensively that allow you to run in transition a little bit more. Like everything about this team is built to go fast.
Well, here's the other thing is when you're moving the ball, the thing that causes panic for defenses is everybody touching it can shoot. Are you still at the arena?
You didn't get that when he first came in.
I don't know what you're surprised I work. Like I have a job.
What have I told you? You work on the internet.
I do not know. Okay. I cannot drive 35 minutes home when I'm in the zone of what I want to type. I can't interrupt my zone.
Okay, that's fair. I can't.
Scott's usually going to be here at this time. I'm not going to be able to do this often, so I had to take advantage of this.
Okay, it's fair. Landers 20 and 10 tonight. Awesome for him. Landers was a shooter. He shot the shit out of it. He's one of the most prolific shooters for most prolific shooting seasons in program history. But I'll tell you this: if teams don't start closing out on CJ Frederick, he might shoot the highest percentage in the history of the program.
That apparently was something that Davis was very upset about at halftime because they said that they did not want CJ Frederick to get a three off in the first half, and he sprayed threes in the first half.
Wide open. Mm-hmm. Nobody close. Nobody in the zip code. So CJ was squeezing off threes.
He was apparently very upset at halftime that they allowed him to shoot the way that he did.
He was
still there. Is David still there?
No one's here. I'm the last one here. He was taking those shots with a extra level of like swagger and confidence that you could see. It was like an NBA level type of confidence. So that was refreshing. I haven't seen that in a while of just someone who they go down and make a three, and then on the next possession, they're 5 feet behind the line, and they're okay, I'm taking this, I don't care. And then he makes it through contact, gets fouled. He could have had 9 points in like a minute if he would have made that free throw.
We saw that often last year with Jeremiah Davenport.
Yeah.
Now, did he make the second one? He liked to play the heat check game, but we certainly saw it last year.
There's a big difference in heat check that you make and heat check that you miss.
There's just something about, like, it's funny because, like, even in practice, like, from what we've seen of practice and the scrimmages that we've seen, Keegan, CJ is a game shooter, man. It looks different coming out of his hand in games than what we've seen, like, even in scrimmages. When he's got an open look in games, that thing comes out of his hand. Like, there's almost no question that it's going in. He missed one. The first one he missed, it was like,
we were shocked.
What do you mean?
You said he was too open.
Yeah, he's too open. Too high. What do you mean too high? The trajectory of the ball. But, I mean, he is pure. And it's what we talked about Monday. Feet set, shoulders square. Like, he just has that. It's almost, usually when you say robotic, it's bad. Because guys are like, he almost has like he's flying through the air. It doesn't matter. When he lands, feet are set, shoulders are square, form is perfect. Like he is just a pure threat from three. And are there going to be ups and downs yet? Or is he going to have nights where he's 1 for 6? Absolutely. But you feel real good when it comes out of his hand.
Right now, he's what, 7 of 11?
It's a pretty good percentage.
And also, if you think about the percentages, him and CMOS both having bad games, that's a very low percentage chance of happening. So, you have those two sharpshooters, and you have to bet on one of them showing up, which that can spark your offense at any time.
That's 64%, 7 of 11 for those keeping track.
That's good.
That's what I hear. Yeah.
I checked with my sources. On the way home, I made a couple calls. I checked with my sources, and that is good. Does UC finally have a guy who can just go get a bucket when you need one?
No, they have several.
Not yet. Not yet.
Like 10 seconds left, you're giving them the ball. That's what I'm picturing this as.
Right. I don't know that has developed yet.
I think
it can be CMOS. I think you're comfortable with that being CMOS. With into the shot clock, 6 seconds left, throw him the ball, let him go do his thing. But that's not what this offense is. This offense doesn't want to get to 6 seconds.
Yeah.
Now, again, when you're playing elite defenses as you go through the Big 12, you're going to get to 6 seconds. So you better figure out which one of your guys is good for that. You're not going to find out much of that playing UIC and Detroit Mercy because they're just not able to stop what you want to do enough to get you down to like that moment in the shot clock. So
you don't have a
I don't know yet, Jared.
You don't have a Caleb Love yet, who hit the game winner tonight, I believe, against Duke.
He's 3-1.
You also might be fortunate you don't have a Caleb Love at this point in time because Caleb Love is a guy that likes to go, 5 for 19 regularly.
He did enough tonight to make Mike Krzyzewski get up and leave as soon as he hit his shot, and then
yeah.
I would say, if just going back to that, I want to give my 2 cents. If you're looking for a guy that can beat someone one-on-one, I'd say the biggest matchup nightmare would be Day right now, just from a pure speed and skill vantage point, and he's shown the ability to make shots close and from distance. If there's gonna be 6 seconds left right now, I'm gonna give it to Day.
I think he can't develop into that. I don't think that's who I'm going to yet. I'm going to CMOS right now. If I had to make that decision, I'm going to CMOS right now. But like December 29th, Day is ultimately the guy you want to develop into that role, right?
Because you want your point guard to be that guy.
Yeah.
Based on what we've seen on court and not in practice, though, I would lean more towards Keegan's assessment just because he's making the shots.
Yeah. This team, albeit 2 games in, just looks like a team is going to have several solid shooters. Yeah. That's right, Greg Vito. They're going to have guys that can hit shots, I think, comfortably. But now, are there going to be games that they go 5 for 25 from 3 and the offense looks a lot different and we're here with people in the chat freaking out because they couldn't shoot from the perimeter, so the offense bogged down a little bit? Yeah, we're going to have that. But more often than not, when you have a team that has a bunch of guys that can shoot, guess what? Again, for a team that can move the ball, it puts so much stress on the defense when you can ping 4 guys that can shoot, right, Aaron? Like, it's if you're making 3 passes and 2 of the guys you're passing to can't shoot, you're not moving the defense because the defense doesn't care.
I know you're talking about 6 seconds left. I don't know that you wouldn't try and draw up the play.
I'm talking
I'm
about like in the flow of an offense.
I understand, which is what I'm getting to. I don't know that you wouldn't drop a play to try and move the ball around to get CJ Frederick open for that 3 to win the game. So again, this is where I'm saying I think you have several guys right now who you could be okay depending on what opens up. If CJ doesn't open up for 3, maybe you're okay with Day driving it and getting a floater. Maybe you're okay with John Newman right now. He's 7 of 12 on the season. Like, he's shooting well from the field. I mean, I know we're talking small numbers. These are the numbers that I have. So I'm not saying necessarily that John's the guy, but I don't think John's going to hesitate if he's getting a clean look to drive to the hoop.
Right. No, I know.
That's what you're looking for.
I feel you.
Anyway.
All right.
We got to get to the next topic, or we're going to be here for 2 hours.
Yeah. Which one do you want to get to first? We have 2.
Ray first, and then do the big one to end.
Yeah, we'll do Ray first.
I think Ray's kind of cut and dry, but no one wants it to be cut and dry.
No one wants it to be cut and dry. Everybody wants that. Again, this is why it's difficult to recruit hometown guys. Everybody loves Ravon Griffith. You know who else also loves Ravon Griffith? The entire coaching staff. Like, there is this rumor out there that I don't know where it started, and I'm going to squash it right now, that Ray is in the doghouse. Keegan, did you or did you not see me have several conversations about that topic tonight?
I saw you have several.
Did every conversation I had about that topic completely refute that Ray was in any way, shape, or form in the doghouse?
I think what I heard was mouth shut, head down, goes to work basically every day.
Is about the right things. Right now, there is a decision to be made. Is Ray going to crack the upper middle of this lineup? And if he's not, is it worth it to burn a year of eligibility for him to play 4 minutes a game and average 2 points? Maybe some people believe that to be a yes. But guess what happens when you get into conference play and when you get towards the middle of the season and you get towards a team that the numbers say should be on the bubble? That rotation shortens. It doesn't expand, it shortens. So if a guy is 10th, and right now, Weston's very clearly said, they have a main 7. Day, CJ, Seamoss, John Newman, Dan Skillings, Odie, Vic. 7. And then you have 2 that are right behind them. Jizzle, Josh Reed. You have 2 more scholarship players after that. Ray and Sage. Let's say Ray's 10th right now, based on what the coaches told us. Let's say Ray's 10th. What are the real opportunities for Ray as a freshman if he stays at 10th?
Garbage time to make the student section happy.
Is it really worth his red shirt? And here's what people have to understand in college basketball. You play 1 second. Football, you get 4 games. You can play 4 whole games and still redshirt. In basketball, if you play 1 second, if he checks in today for the final 18 seconds of the game, his red shirt is gone. So what everybody needs to decide, and this is also something while they factor in what's going on with Aziz and Jamil, because if either of those become eligible, it's even less likely because you're adding another guy into that where now Ray's 11 or 12. So you're looking out for the best interest of Ray, because playing him 4 minutes tonight wasn't going to change anything. He was still going right now to be 10th in the rotation. So is the wise move to keep that in your pocket for right now and be something that you can make a decision on over the next week or two? You know what we're not going to talk about 4 years from now? Remember those 2 weeks Ray didn't play and then he worked his way into the rotation? Like, hypothetically speaking, like if this is how it plays out, like 2 weeks from now, Ray starts getting minutes because they decide not to redshirt him. We're never going to be like, oh, remember that Detroit Mercy game that Ray didn't play in? Remember when West didn't put him in that 10-point game, 11-point game against Illinois Chicago? No, we're never going to talk about that. If he redshirts his first year, then the decision was made that it's best for his long-term future to not play 4 minutes a game this year.
Mm-hmm.
So relax, everybody. Relax. Didn't Sage play last year at some point and still get a red shirt? Yes, he got a medical red shirt. Sage had an injury history. He was coming off a very, very serious knee injury. Ray is healthy. Like, you would just be lying if you tried to make up an injury with Ravon Griffith right now. There's nothing to support that Ray has an injury history. With Sage, you had that. So I get everybody wants to see Ray. He was an important recruit. He's a top 75 guy. He's super talented. And as this thing moves forward in the Big 12, Ravon Griffith is going to be a massive part of Cincinnati's rotation. The question is, how do you handle right now where he's 10th? And fans need to be patient with that. They need to understand there's a bigger picture outside of why did the walk-ons get in and Ray didn't play? Because the walk-ons aren't redshirting or potentially redshirting. It's not on the table for them.
Yeah. I think the best case scenario for him right now is Josh Reed continues to struggle, and then Wes sees that as a important part of the roster, an important part of the rotation, and then he plugs Ray in there. He gets meaningful minutes like Josh Reed has been getting. But I don't think that is – I would say that.
Also had 12 rebounds and 4 assists.
Yeah. So Wes said he didn't play good and he had 12 rebounds. So I don't foresee that happening. But there's also the fact of I feel like a lot of people saw him commit and then they just immediately think he's going to be plugged into the starting lineup, get 25 minutes a game, he's doing whatever. That is a very, very select crop of high school players that can transition straight into a starting lineup in college and immediately contribute. That is so rare. So Ravon is a guy who's going to come in, he's going to take lumps, and then he's going to be the cornerstone of your program for 2 to 3 years, make everyone proud, and you can at one point build a roster around him knowing that he's going to be that guy. But it's not there right now. And it's also – This is my biggest point about it, and Wes cleared it up today. If Wes had his way, Jizzle would not be playing right now because he would have gotten a point guard out of the portal who had Division I experience, and Jizzle would be sitting on the bench right next to Ravon. It is the depth at the wing position that is allowing Ravon to sit and is allowing him to get a red shirt. Now, if you want to look that in a negative light and say that he's in the doghouse, I guess that's on you as a fan who wants to be negative about the situation. Or you can look at it as you have so many wings that have shown potential and talent as they did tonight against Detroit Mercy that Wes Miller doesn't have to play a top 50 recruit and he can continue to develop so he doesn't go out, get shell-shocked by Division I basketball, and then it impacts him for the rest of the season.
I've been hit with the Rays in the doghouse thing by a lot of, like, multiple people. Oh, I heard Rays in the dog. I can tell you emphatically right now that is not true.
It was swirling around on Twitter during the game as well.
It's false. I'm telling you it's false.
I understand.
I'm just saying, like, I've checked with not one, not two, not three. I've talked to everybody I could possibly talk to about is there anything to this where the staff is not happy with what they're getting from Ray? Because I haven't, like, Keegan's been to a couple practices. I've been to practices. Have you ever thought, like, Ray doesn't look like he is playing his ass off when we've seen him on the floor?
No, and Wes Miller's doghouse is kind of occupied by the NCAA right now, so I don't think there's any room. So his head cannot comprehend being mad at anything or anyone else than the NCAA. Like, he doesn't have time for this.
When Ravon did Ravon know redshirting was a possibility when he signed? It's always a possibility. When he signed, though, they didn't have a roster. Right, they didn't have the roster put together at that point. They didn't know that they were going to be getting the guys in the portal that they got. And I think that he knows that basketball well enough at this point in time to know that, well, there's guys better than me on this roster.
Things a year ago that were not known. John Newman was coming back.
Right.
CJ Frederick was going to be on the roster.
Right.
Simas Lukosius was going to be on the roster.
Right.
Like, there's 3 of your 4 top wings. As I've said a couple times, there are, I don't know, roughly speaking, 10 out of the past 15 years, 12 out of the past 15 years, that by necessity, Ray would have played a ton because they didn't have enough firepower on the wing to not play him. Well, unfortunately, as this has played out, he walked into a situation where you have 4 guys you have to play and 1 guy that maybe he can get past, but that guy was in a similar situation last year and has learned from it and built on it in Josh. Ray is not in a position where he is going to take minutes from Simas, CJ, John Newman, and Dan. It's just not. And that's not a knock on Ray.
It's also not a bad thing. He's got a lot of skill on this roster.
I mean, there were times where, you had Jacob Evans and Jaron Cumberland, and you could barely take those 2 guys off the floor because there was nobody behind them. Ray would have played a shit ton on some teams that were very high NCAA seeds. But in this situation, there's 4 guys competing for 2 spots, 5 guys competing for 2.5 spots. And Ray's just not at that level yet. Maybe he can get there. The door is still open. They haven't decided 100% that Ray is redshirting or that you're not going to see him this season. They're just smart enough to know if we play him for even a second in one of these 2 games, as we figure this out, the red shirt is off the table.
Not to speak anything into existence, but there's injuries happen.
Sure.
And there are certainly some guys on this roster that have had injuries.
Josh Reed would have redshirted last year if John Newman doesn't go out for the season. The reason they were waiting on Josh, and we were in the same situation with Josh last year, they were waiting to find out how bad did John Newman mess up his knee. Because there was some thought initially, it was like a month, 6-week deal, then he would be back. So then they could have, waited it out, brought John Newman back, and Josh Reed didn't have to play. When it became clear that John Newman was going to miss all or almost all of the year, you had to play Josh Reed. And you're right, Aaron. Guess what? As much as we don't like to talk about it or don't want to acknowledge it, there's an injury history that you have to at least understand exists.
Yeah.
Exists. Yeah, that's the other thing, Andrew. Stop with this. You're throwing the kid in the portal. Just stop. I think people need to stop assuming he's already plotting a portal entry. Wes has discussed this with him. He's not being blindsided by it. That's correct. It's been discussed with him. It's been discussed with his family.
2 games into the season.
Around him.
We're throwing a kid in the portal.
He was coached.
There's already a thread on Bearcat Journal about the roster in 2024.
He was coached too hard by his AAU coach to be that soft. Brooke Cups did way too good of a job with him for him to come in and first sign of trouble just want to hit the door. So I don't put any reputation to that claim.
Yeah. Do you want to go home, Keegan?
No, I don't.
You don't have to stay. Okay.
I'm still.
Trevor,
I have another.
Trevor gave you love in the chat.
And I saw it from someone else too. I can't remember who it was. Steven Chenault or Joshua Burkowski. I appreciate it. I want to talk about Aziz and Jamil.
Trevor from UC staff gave you.
Okay, go. I'm going to give you your. You've got the platform.
Me? Okay, I'll take the platform.
Oh, you go. Like you want to talk about it? Set it up.
So.
Go.
Wes basically took 9 minutes and 30 seconds, I think it was something above that, to address Aziz Bandaogo's appeal for a second-time transfer waiver being denied, as you all have probably seen on Twitter. It was one of the more heated moments I've seen a coach experience. Definitely Wes, because I've been covering him for such a short amount of time. And I've seen him talk on this subject for 3 or 4, maybe 5 times at radio shows, media availabilities, and this was by far the angriest he was. And I think there was 2 themes that came up tonight that hadn't come up before, and one of them was a revelation to me, and it kind of did make sense. But he said he believes that Aziz and Jamil are being made examples of by the NCAA, and that they are being sacrificed to show to people in the future that you should not transfer because this is going to happen. So the NCAA is trying to set the tone with this whole thing by not playing Aziz and Jamil. At least that's Wes Miller's claim, and that's what he believes, even though I just saw on Twitter 30, 40 minutes ago, there's a guy who just got an appeal approved to play for his 5th school at Cal State Northridge. One of those stops was a junior college, so that doesn't count as another NCAA institution, but it is a 5th school. And then the second one was the feedback they got about Aziz's appeal. I'm not sure if it was about the appeal or the waiver, but basically the NCAA said he checks 7 out of the 7 boxes, but they can't figure out why he chose Cincinnati.
That's not up to them.
It really isn't. And then that makes me think, okay, well, Duke was going after him, right? Duke was in the running for Aziz, Chad, if you can hear me.
Yes, but Duke understood that because of the distance. So when he came to America, he went to Akron, okay? He has a girlfriend. Her family is in West Virginia. Cincinnati is kind of equidistant to the support family in West Virginia, and then the basketball family, whatever, his host and the people that brought him over in Akron.
Okay.
So that's kind of at the root of this. Yeah. Why Cincinnati? Because it gives him a chance to be in the orbit of both places.
Yeah. Why Cincinnati? Because it makes sense. Like that's the
even if it didn't, it's still not the NCAA's damn business.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing that's crazy, Aaron. So, like, what the NCAA deems Columbus is closer. Ohio State didn't recruit him.
Even if they had, if he chose Cincinnati over Ohio State, there could be other factors. NIL, it doesn't matter why you choose where you go to school. It's where he wanted to go. You don't do this with high school players. Well, why'd you go to California if you were a Florida kid? Who fucking cares?
Let him cook. Let him cook, Keegan. Let him cook.
Okay.
It's just
the other thing it comes back for to me is I'll be transparent with this, and Chad reminded me of this today. I completely forgot Mark Madsen got the Cal job. So I thought there was nuance to the Aziz situation I was always, Jamil's coach left. There should be an exemption for a coach leaving. That makes too much sense. And then I remember Mark Madsen got the Cal job. He leaves Utah Valley. So these kids, they're committing under these adult men who are going to be their head coaches, because these adult men have laid out a plan for them to thrive in this program. It's basically going to be their father. Like, they're going to see them every day, more than their parents, because their parents aren't their basketball coach. So then these people leave.
I am your father.
Mute yourself, I swear. These coaches leave, and then you're going to force them to play for someone who they didn't commit under. Throw out all the mental health stuff anyway. That is absolutely enough to give someone a waiver for a second-time transfer. Or you should not. You should make coaches sit out a year before they can coach again, if that's going to be the case. Because you're about athletes' mental health, but when you take away their comfort and their familiarity at these programs, you're going to say, no, you have to stay there, even though you have no idea what it's going to be like. With the amount of times we've seen coaches and people stay at certain programs and then they don't jive with the coaches, and then there's lawsuits and stuff. I don't know what program I'm talking about, but it's just very inconsiderate of the NCAA to force people to play for someone that they don't want to play for, and that they aren't supposed to be playing for because they committed under someone else. And now, I don't know. But it was just like, that was as passionate as I've seen Wes. And that was also the first time I saw him bring up Madsen leaving for Cal, which I think is, I guess that's too cut and dry, that they just don't let a coach exemption. So it's not worth arguing about. But I think that's the worst thing in all of this, is that you take away that coach exemption if they leave. And that's just completely obliterating the worth of the athletes and putting the coaches on a pedestal and letting them do whatever they want, and then limiting what the players can do.
The biggest issue
here's also another major problem, Keegan. Going on the statement from Aziz today. I received treatment from mental health counselors who agreed that my mental health situation made it necessary for me to be in a different college environment. He has gotten advice from people who work in the field of mental health, who are professionals at mental health, who have deemed him to have a mental health situation important enough for a need to leave Utah Valley. Who the fuck is the NCAA to say, nah, come on. Like, this is the waiver created is a mental health waiver. Mental health professionals have deemed this a mental health situation where mental health is at risk if the situation doesn't change. And the NCAA, in their infinite ignorance, is going to ignore mental health professionals and say, nah, we got this, fam. Give me a fucking break.
The problem with the NCAA making this ruling is the fact that they're becoming arbiters of who has mental health issues and who doesn't. And none of these people who work in the NCAA have doctor in front of their name. And if they do, it's not a doctorate of psychology.
It's an honorary doctorate of being a dumbass.
Thanks, Fred.
The Red Foreman in me is coming out tonight. I like calling people a dumbass, Keegan. If you've never seen that 70s show, go watch it. I am Red Foreman.
So, I don't know. The whole thing, it stinks to high heaven. It's becoming arbitrary. It's not becoming cut and dry. It's becoming gray. It's not black and white. You lay out guidelines. You meet the guidelines. Well, we don't understand why you would pick Cincinnati. Well, he did.
It doesn't matter. He met the guidelines.
That's
like
where it doesn't say in the guidelines that you have to go to a certain school with these other parameters, and these are your choices.
Right.
If
Here are your 7 guidelines.
If it was Bill Self, we're not having this conversation.
Well, you know what the funny part is? One of the reasons I've heard that this is a problem is that Bill Self is the one pounding the table that 2-time transfers are not allowed. And,
oh, wow.
Color me shocked.
Oh, yeah.
That's ironic that the guy who can buy whatever player he wants and form whatever roster he wants doesn't want other people building rosters with 2-time transfers. That's hilarious.
Yeah, no, I've heard from multiple people that Bill Self is like, if you go back a couple months, like Bill Self is on record, like staunchly against 2-time transfers. And I have been told that he is one behind the scenes that is making a very big stink about, look, we said we didn't want 2-time transfers, and we are going to stick to that, even though they created a mental health loophole for 2-time transfers because they had to, because it was an antitrust issue to not allow players with mental health problems. And now the NCAA, as Aaron said, is educating mental health with people that don't have a single goddamn bit of knowledge on mental health and what it's about. And one of the reasons, like, look, man, I'll be honest here. I never, I never understood, like, a lot of the mental health stuff because I've been through a lot of shit. And I just was able to push forward, and it didn't ever affect me. I'm a mental health fucking disaster right now. And I have been for 7 months. Now I've managed to push through it, and I've managed to like understand it and what's happening and why it's happening. But I'm also 46. I'm not 20. I'm not 22. If this happened to me at that age, who the fuck knows what kind of condition I would be in? Like, there are days I am crippled on my couch, unable to fucking function. And to see an organization just decide, like, arbitrarily, well, we know what's good for your mental health better than you do, fuck off.
While stating that they are in charge and looking out for the best interests of the student athletes.
Sure.
That's the biggest slap in the face to all of this. To all of this.
Why is there so much more focus on Aziz and Jamil?
He's the only one who's been ruled on.
Aziz is first. Like, Aziz in the process of this has been first. So, yeah. Jamil's stuff is going to come up, and when it comes up, we're going to do this again.
Can't wait.
But I'm sorry to go down that path with things, but I'm right in the fucking middle of it. Like, there are some days I don't want to do anything. I don't want to talk to you dumbasses. I don't want to talk to my daughter. I just want to close the door, close the blinds, sit in my room and fucking cry for 18 hours. And people that don't have any, like, understanding of that or any say in that.
I've talked you into shows before because you didn't want to work.
Yeah. And, you know, it could be something. That's the thing. It could be something dumb as fuck. Not dumb as fuck, but like Halloween in 2017 was the day Kelly went into the hospital for her diagnosis. I had to work all day that day. I was a disaster that entire day. Nobody gets to tell me that, oh, you were fine. Because I was at work, because I did the shit that we had to do, because I withheld my responsibilities, and we did whatever we needed, that I was okay that day. Like, that's what we're seeing the NCAA do. We saw in the Jalen Tyson thing. Well, we denied him because he didn't put his name in the transfer portal fast enough. Fuck you. You don't get to decide when the kid fucking decides to go into the transfer portal. Like, you don't get, that's not your place. You don't sit on your throne and get to decide. Well, we had the over under at 13 and a half days, and you went 20 days. So yeah, you're denied. You didn't get to the portal fast enough.
Turns out he made a promise to the AD
that he would honor his
stick around until they made a hire.
Yeah, and listen to what the new coach had to say and do things. Oh my God, the kid did things the right way. He was a mature adult human being and did things the right way. And said, I'm not going to make a rash decision. I will listen to what your new coach has to say, and I will make a decision from there. Nope. We arbitrarily decided you took the over and we took the under, so stick it up your ass. You can't transfer. You're sitting out a year. It's just something that's been on my mind a lot over the past couple of days of like this arbitrary, like we decide what mental health is. No, you don't. You don't get to have that power over somebody. Do you think I wanted to be in a mental health crisis at 46 for the first time in my life? No, fuck no. But I am. And nobody else gets to decide like how I handle that and how I go through that and what I experience every goddamn day. Some days I look at a picture of Kelly and I'm like, what's up, babe? We got this. We're good. Some days I look at a picture of Kelly and I curl up on the couch. The NCAA doesn't get to decide arbitrarily how each of these guys are impacted, especially not when they laid out, this is what you have to do. These are the things that we need to see for you to be able to be eligible for this mental health waiver and for the player to meet all of the requirements for that and for them to go, nah, almost. Hand grenades and horseshoes, buddy.
It's almost as bad as the it's worse. I take that back. It's worse, but I feel like the Big Ten did something in a similar vein today when they decided to suspend a coach based on the requests of the other teams in the association when the coach who was suspended has not been found to be guilty of the crime at this point in time, while there's also an ongoing investigation. What are we doing here?
Yeah. Are they planning to appeal the appeal? So my understanding is Aziz has lawyered up, as Justin reported today, and I have been hinting as strongly as I possibly could over the past 3 weeks. He has hired the firm that represented Tez Walker in the case against the NCAA at North Carolina. Those people obviously understand the steps that they went through to get Tez Walker approved. So yeah, there's a lot of fight that's going to happen. The Attorney General is talking about antitrust lawsuits with multiple states, as many as 10 states filing an antitrust lawsuit against the NCAA, which should absolutely scare the absolute shit out of the NCAA because they can't win in court.
Also,
so
Wes
do they want to spend another $1 billion to lose in court? Good luck.
Wes said they're petitioning the NCAA on Monday to try to reverse the decision.
Sure.
So I don't know specifically what that means, but he said they're going to do that.
Should be
what else
interesting.
You guys got anything? I just had to get that off my chest because it's been on my mind a lot lately. That like nobody gets to tell me that like you're at set like that's kind of what the NCAA has done in this process. Oh well, you're at 7 months. You're okay. Like what they did in the Jalen Tyson case, they would look at me and say, "Well, you ran your business successfully." And your daughter is doing well, and everything on about your life from the surface looks good, so you're fine. It's not true. I'm doing okay. I'm doing the best I can possibly do. but I'm also still a fucking mess because my wife died. You don't get to put a timetable on that. You don't get to say, well, we think your mental health is all right. We think by our assessment, you're doing shows every night. There are pictures of you on the internet smiling. Everything looks good. So yeah, you're good. Like, it checks out. Well, I talked to 8 doctors that say I'm a fucking disaster. But let's ignore them. And Keegan put a picture of me smiling tonight with some nachos. So he's fine.
But the question we have for you, Chad, is why would you pick this job?
Right. Why would I pick dealing with you assholes every night?
Why would you pick this job? That's the part that doesn't make sense. Is you picked this job? Why?
I did. I wish I knew. I wish I had a better understanding of that, Aaron. I really wish I did.
If we could make sense of that, then we could make sense of this whole thing, and it would all be a wash. But this is the part we can't figure. We just get stuck on why did you pick this job?
I can't make any sense of that. So here we are. I guess my waiver has been denied. All right. Do I think Jamil has as strong of a case as Aziz? I don't know the specific ins and outs of either case, so I can't say that one way or another. Do I think he'll get his appeal denied? Yeah.
We also know that he apparently checks all the boxes as well. So
right.
That doesn't mean anything anymore. We gave you guidelines. We set this up. We also admitted, by the way, Wes mentioned this, and I thought this was my big takeaway, is we set these guidelines up. We realized they were fucked, and so we're going to give you new guidelines next year. Maybe disregard these guidelines. We're just going to pretend they don't exist.
That's the part I want you guys to talk about, is this notion that, like, they're being used as pawns, essentially, for this first wave of however this evolves. Next year, there'll be different rules in place. And you know what nobody will talk about? The guys that got fucked this year for those new guidelines to come into place.
The whole thing's a mess.
Keegan's about to fall asleep.
I can't wait until there's an injunction and they play a couple games and have to sit out those same games next year. That'll be fun.
Keegan.
What?
Down the hall to the left
is the exit.
No, there's a bunk room. You can just go in there. Maybe sit in the hydro recliner. Get you a 15-minute massage and then curl up in one of those beds.
And then Bob Mangine comes in the morning and says, "What the hell are you doing?"
I have no idea, Jared. Like, I don't know. Hypothetically, Jamil gets the waiver granted on appeal. Does this help hurt or confuse Aziz? I have no idea, man.
All of it?
Yeah. Yes. The answer is yes. It helps, it hurts, and it confuses him. It does all of those things. That's why this is so fucked.
Yeah.
Like, it's why it's so stupid.
As if learning English wasn't hard enough. Now he's got to figure out what the hell any of all that means.
All right. I don't have anything else. So that's going to wrap it up. Thanks to all of you for being here. We appreciate it. It's late on a Friday, so it's super special to have all you guys here this late listening to what we have to say. We will see you next time. That is the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!